Okay, so this might sound a little weird, but even though I was a good student in school, I got good grades, I was on the honor roll list. As a young adult in my 20s, and I guess not so young in my 30s, I kind of let people treat me as if I wasn't so smart. I kind of like sucked it up and took it when I don't think I should have. I mean, I wanted an unconventional path through my life, and I've never really regretted that. For example, I never really wanted to have children. I got hair sticking up here. Da-da-da. Okay. I never really wanted children because my mom was like a stressed out mental case. And I just had these big dreams, and I saw how incredibly demanding children are. And a lot of people will say, yeah, but it's worth it. And that's great, but it's not what I wanted. And I've never really regretted it. Now, when I married my husband, he had two grown sons, and they went on to get married and have kids. So I got to be a step grandma without ever having had the stretch marks, which turned out pretty good. The other thing is, I grew up in the Detroit area where there were a lot of big corporations like the automotive companies and everything, which was considered like the cool job to have to work in an automotive company. And I had absolutely no interest in that whatsoever. You know, I was creative. I wanted to write. I wanted to do professional speaking. I didn't want to sell my soul, so to speak, to a corporation. I was very entrepreneurial and I worked hard, and I had some success and I made some income and, I did okay. And people just couldn't quite see it. Now, I had friends that could see it that were supportive because I reached a point in my life, when I moved from the Midwest, from Michigan to the West Coast, where I said, you know what? I only want people in my life who support me in my goals and dreams, and I will return the favor and support them in theirs. And that was like a really radical thing for me to say at the time. But until that point, whether it was family members, even friends, who you think you choose your friends. It's like you don't choose your family as much. Had that sort of looking down their nose sort of at me. And of course, I've also had a lot of people who were pretty judgy over the fact that I didn't want kids. I think I'm a better person. I just felt like I don't know if I can handle it and do everything else that I want to do in life. And so, that's the direction that I took. And I'm good with that. All right. Yeah, I'm good with that. And I remember, when I left Detroit, I had this friend, and she said to me a couple days before I left with my car loaded up with suitcases, and I listened to Stevie Wonder's Greatest Hits and Vivaldi's Four Seasons most of the way out there. She said, gosh, I hope we don't see your picture on the side of a milk carton. Well, back then, that was 92, when I made that massive move. It's like they put pictures of children on the side of milk cartons, and these were children who had been abducted, trying to find this missing child. And so that means not only did they see me in some ways as being a child, and I mean, I was responsible. I paid my bills. I paid my taxes. I took care of things and everything. I was a good driver. I was, courteous and all those things. But they also, they saw me as a child. They also, I guess, had this opinion that I wasn't capable of keeping myself safe. And as it turned out, that drive, 2,500 miles across the country, a few weeks after the holidays, turned out to be one of the best adventures ever, I mean, I've had some awesome vacations since then to like Europe, and I've been to Japan, and I've been to India, and it's great, and I love all those things. And that's part of that unconventional life, is that I've gotten to do some of those things. But I know that when you make certain choices, you kind of walk away from other choices. It's like if you make a choice to go to law school, you're not making a choice to go to medical school, for example. Or if you make a choice to get married and have 3 kids, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a lot more challenging for you to go back to college, for the degree that you dropped in your second year or whatever that was. So at any rate, but this sort of sneering, judgy, looking down their nose attitude, and I just kind of sucked it up, And since then, one of the things that I learned from one of the seminar gurus I worked with many years ago is, as a way to respond to that, as he would say, this is when people would say, talk to the hand, well, they don't say that anymore, but say, you know what? I really don't grow from that. And I have a very good friend, and she puts up with a sister who says, you have to stop being silly and go get a job. And it's like she's had her own business and owned, a beautiful home and done all these things for like 30 years now. And her sister still doesn't believe in her. So at any rate, if you are the kind of person who has kind of put up with people who do that, who are like judgy and all those things, it's like you can say something. You can say, gosh, I don't grow from that. Or you can say, you know what? If you want to be supportive, that doesn't really help, So there's lots of things you can say. It just always keep in mind that, if you're used to sucking it up and not saying anything, you don't have to go all the way 180 degrees the opposite to saying something that's going to like piss everybody off. Look for the middle ground in there. That something I said in a previous video is, what can you say in such a way so that you get what you want and the other person gets what they want? And that's what it's about. And back then, in Michigan, before I left, I didn't know how to do that. It took me until, I would say, late 30s, early 40s until I learned that. It's just I looked for those people who were just kind of naturally supportive. And again, I returned that gift to them. So thank you so much. This is Denise. What I wish I knew at 30. Please take a minute to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'd love to read your comments. I respond to most of them, and I'd love to see yours. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.